Can you hear me? You guys look great. I'm the only one wearing a jacket. Anybody care if I take it off? Anybody care? We all right? Thank God. So congratulations on your achievement. My understanding is you just got to make it a couple of weeks and not screw this up and you're going to graduate. Is that right? When I say congratulations on your achievement, I mean it most sincerely. My wife is back there. She'd like to convey her congratulations as well. And you have to understand something. Even though it was likely a given for you, for most of you, like it was for me, that this day was going to come, even though it was pretty much assumed and automatic, you know, it's not like I sat around the dinner table with my old man and said, what do you think, Dad? Maybe I should drop out. I mean, that, you probably didn't have that conversation either, right? I mean, even though this was preordained, it does not diminish the significance of what you've achieved. Great job. Great job. Y'all are going to get a piece of paper, but let me just real quick, I mean, it's never good when you do public speaking to digress from what you came to say before you start to say it, but I'm going to digress for a second, okay? Let me just share with you something else that you got besides that piece of paper. Positive psychology, the field of positive psychology was born 20 years ago, and since then they've discovered what happiness is. They've discovered what human fulfillment is. It's not soft science anymore. We know what causes happiness. Does everybody in here want a happy life? Yes? Say yes. Yes. Okay, so you don't want to be miserable. Good, that's excellent. All right, so if you want to be happy, there's a formula. And we've actually seen it. With the invention of the functional magnetic resonance imaging machine, if I said that correctly, we've seen happiness. We've seen how it works. And you might not know this, but here's the formula for happiness. For all human fulfillment, set a transcendent goal, break it down into intermediate goals, establish a daily routine where you chunk down each of those goals, have a time block schedule, get up the same time every morning, execute on the microprocesses you design around achieving your goals, lather, rinse, and repeat, and you lead a fulfilling, happy life. I just described your last 4 years, didn't I? They taught you everything you need to know to succeed. They taught you everything you know to be happy. And where we screw it up is this. We go to college and I say, I'm not going to have a class before noon. Right? And you sleep in. And you goof off and you skip class and you don't do your homework and you get all freaking out of whack, and congratulations, you are one short step away from schizophrenia. Right? And I'm not making that up, because the treatment protocol for schizophrenia is to establish just what they gave you here. A goal, intermediate goals, daily microprocesses to achieve those goals. So yeah, it's great you got the piece of paper, but even absent the piece of paper, look what you learned. And you might not know it, you might not recognize it, but do not forget it. Okay, that is the value of this education. Okay, the second thing that they taught you is this: when you don't know the answer, go frickin' find it. All right, you need to be a lifelong learner. Don't stop, because I tell you what, static people in this world, at best, end up average. All right, what got you here will get you there, but only if you keep doing what got you here. Everybody understand? We clear on that? Okay, so why did I really come here to talk to you? Because I'm an optimist. People do the best they can with the resources that they have. And that is an optimistic viewpoint, because if you look at the suboptimal behaviors and the array of suboptimal results that we generate as human beings, if you assign to those results a malevolent or a malicious purpose, you get pessimistic pretty damn quick. Okay, so I prefer to think that people do the very best they can with the resources that they have. And when I say resources, am I talking about money? No, I'm not. I'm talking about tools. So for example, in the sports context, the best pitchers in the world have 3 or 4 pitches. Less effective pitchers only have 1 or 2 pitches. They have more tools. They have more strategies more technologies to get the batter out. Does that make sense? Okay, the more tools you have, the more options you have, the more freedom you have, the more freedom you have, the happier you are. Is everybody with me? Okay, so the purpose of my visit here today is to pay it forward. 30-something years ago, I was given 2 tools. The 2 most important tools that I ever found in all my life. 2 tools that, in fact, saved my life. And they're not sports tools, they're not business tools, they're natural laws applicable to every human being. It's universal, okay? It's tools about how to better run your life. And if only one of you embraces what I learned 30 years ago and uses it in your life, then this is just a huge win. I want you to trust me, okay? Because great ideas do not proliferate without a trust relationship, all right? So just take a second and make a conscious decision to trust me and listen. Because what I want to share with you, they literally saved my life. So I might have noticed I got jacked up on. It's okay. I know. I look at you. All right? So I was born this way. Actually, I just lied to you. So much for trust, right? I wasn't born this way. I was born without fingers, without thumbs, and without elbows. It's called phocomelia. And when I was born, my arms were twisted in a completely different direction, and I had basically oven mitts for hands. They were fused flat flippers with no fingers. They just had these tiny little fingernails stuck to the outside. And I was born in 1964. Do you guys understand that in some cultures, they worship disabled people as gods? You know, I could have made that work, you know? I really could. I could have worked with that. But in 1964, in Grand Forks, North Dakota, we didn't have that culture, okay? And if you look up the history of the treatment of disabled people, what you'll find is one of the options available on a quiet basis was to take my little ass and drown me in a bucket in the delivery room that was kept there for that purpose. Now, I survived the bucket. It wasn't there. It wasn't an option given to my parents, thank heavens. They're not psychopaths. Okay. Okay. But the doctors weren't. Because their suggested first birthday present for me was an immediate bilateral amputation, a brand new shiny set of hooks, and a one-way ticket to the state institution for the mentally and physically infirm. That was the treatment protocol for people they tagged cripples in the 1960s. Forrest and my dad had different ideas, so he threw me in the back of the car, and off on an adventure we went, and he found a better option at a place called the Mayo Clinic in Rochester, New York. And I spent the next few years there, 400 miles from home. It was like my second home. And the first order of business was this. They broke my arms and twisted them in a more useful direction so I could touch everywhere on my body. Right? And then the second order of business was to take my oven mitts and cut them apart and separate the bones. And then they cut one of the fingers off, because I had 3. And they reattached it to give me opposable thumbs. And only have half over here, because I believe it was lost to infection. Opposable thumbs are freaking huge. Okay, just so everybody knows that. That's good news, all right? So I think I had like 20 operations or something like that. And my first memory as a child was sitting on my father's lap as he made me squeeze every damn night these whatever hand-strengthening torture device that they could invent. And for the first 10 years of my life, every time I dumped out my Christmas stocking, there was a new device from Ronco, whoever, that I was supposed to squeeze all the time to make my hands strong, right? Years of casts, years of braces, and years of physical therapy, but eventually I got to exactly where you were. By the time I was 12, maybe 13, I had achieved complete physical independence. Yeah, it took me 4 years to learn how to button my shirt. It took me a year to learn how to tie my shoes. I couldn't hold a knife to cut my meat at the dinner table until I was 10, but I got there. Right? And that's not to say it was all smooth, okay? Because living life shaped like this, in a world full of people and designed for people shaped like you, I mean, there are going to be some bumps in the road, right? So, For example, I once lost control of a particularly stubborn crab leg at an all-you-can-eat Chinese buffet, and I sent that son helicopter across the entire width of the dining area before it landed on somebody else's table. And the first time I swung a golf club, it landed in the kitchen, which really wouldn't have been noteworthy except that I was standing in the neighbor's backyard at the time. It went right through the window. And my favorite was when I bought a new car. I bought a new car and went to the dealership and set aside the concept of trying to explain to the salesman, yeah, I want to drive your car, right? I mean, if you want to see a government shutdown, come with me to get a driver's license. I mean, it's just freaking wild. So I said, yeah, I want to test drive this car. So we got in the car and we pull out of the dealership and take a right. Get down the street and take a right. Go to the highway, get on the highway, and drive 2 miles down the highway and get off the highway, take a right back around the dealership. I executed 7 or 8 perfect right-hand turns. Went inside, bought the car. Drove off the lot. And within like an hour and a half, I discovered this bizarre ergonomic dispute that I was having with the steering wheel that left me honking the horn on 30% of all my left-hand turns. So I could have turned around and brought the damn car back, and I'm thinking, man, this could be fun. And I drove that car for the next 9 years. And you have no idea how many friends I made. People waving at me. Almost dropped an S-bomb, okay? But people waving at me and all these hand gestures and friends everywhere because of that car. So understand that my challenge has never been really physical. Shot 79 on a golf course. I've got 80 miles on my skis. I will thrash your ass on a pool table. Okay. Very few of you are going to beat me at ping pong. Okay. Play tennis, they do it all. There's nothing I can't do that you do except for throw a spiral with a football, snap my damn fingers. And that's pretty much it, right? I can't button my top button. But everything else I do. Okay, so my challenge isn't physical. And that's this huge misunderstanding because they call me a cripple. All right, and then like in the 70s, I think I got upgraded to handicapped. And, which means useless if you look it up, all right? And so then I got upgraded to disabled on good behavior in the 90s, and that means, of course, useless. Here's the problem. Let me show you the problem. This here, printed last night from thesaurus.com. This is a list of synonyms for the word disabled, and I did not bring my glasses. Does anybody have any reading glasses? Real quick, anybody? Throw your hand up if you got reading glasses. Babe, did you bring them? You got my reading? She cleaned these with a strip of bacon. This is going to look good. And it'll be a video. This is awesome. You ready? List of synonyms for the word disabled. This is 2018, folks. Okay, set aside my 100% complete physical capability. All right. This is the definition. Handicapped, infirm, paralyzed, weakened, wounded, disarmed, hamstrung, hurt, maimed, sidelined, stalled, wrapped, broken down, decrepit, helpless, incapable, laid up out of action, out of commission, powerless, run down, worn out, useless. I feel useless. You know what I mean? Okay, so this was the problem. This is the challenge. This is the difficulty of disability. Okay, it's not my physical capabilities. It's not my physical world, where even people less physically capable than me universally report that is the problem, not the limitation. It's society's relentless, subjective devaluation of our worth as human beings based exclusively on our appearance, and it shows up in the most bizarre ways. The only survey of its kind ever taken in America reports that 52% of you would rather be dead than being eaten. I need to be higher for you because the data revealed that higher socioeconomic classes and younger people report a higher incidence of preferring death to disability. And in my daily life, here's how it shows up. A couple times a year, whether I need it or not, a complete stranger approaches me and tells me that if they look like me, they kill themselves. Every single year. 2 or 3 times a year, a stranger will see me and scream out loud. It's happened 3 times in the last 5 months, last 6 months. But here's what I scream back. Oh, it's fun. I mean, it is freaking hilarious. So I go to McDonald's, man. This lady turns around to serve me. Ah! And I'm standing. Ah! I mean, 2 full-grown adults, middle of the day, screaming at each other at McDonald's. Right? Okay, but that's what happens. So I've been asked to leave public places. I've been asked to cover it up. I was at a golf club one time, and I overheard a couple guys talking, and one said, "Make it leave before it scares my kids." Some pretty nasty stuff. I was asked to leave the beach, went to a restaurant one time with my family, and I walked in, and there was a line of people waiting, and a woman looked at me and said, "Well, I'm not going to eat while I'm looking at that." She gathered her family, and they left. Okay, that type of behavior is because of this. Because we define me as less, as subhuman. All right, and in the employment context, I've had a dozen jobs or so where people just looked at me right in the face and said, "I can't hire somebody who looks like you." I've had restaurant owners tell me, "I can't have my customers see you near anywhere near their food, excuse me." I got a job over the phone one time with a temporary agency called Kelly Temporary Services. She said, "You're hired, bring 2 friends. You're great, they're great too, we need people." Went down there, they hired my friends, didn't hire me. She looked me right in the face and said, "I cannot send somebody who looks like you out to a client. Sorry." And dating was fun. Right? I had a lot of women tell me, "I just can't handle your arms," which I appreciate their honesty. Okay, I appreciate their honesty. But one of them was even kind enough to say, "You know what, Kip, I can't handle your arms, and I don't think anybody ever will be able to." And it hurt. It was just a lacerating pain. And I believe I probably was tough enough to handle the daily parade of indignities, the constant staring, the pointing, the laughing, the mocking, the comments, the discrimination, the rejection. Yeah, I could probably handle it. I probably had the spine for that. I could endure. I didn't want to endure. Life isn't about endurance. Life's about joy, pursuit of happiness, that kind of a thing. And while I probably could have endured the parade of indignities, as I said, I got in trouble when I was 20. Because it appeared to me as though my dreams were dying. I would never have meaningful employment. I would never have a relationship with a woman. And I would never have the family that I wanted so bad. And that I was in trouble. To tell you the truth, I didn't give a damn whether I lived or died. And the only job I could get at that point was as a bicycle messenger. Because it was a blind hire. You got a bike? Yeah, you're hired. Show up at this mailbox and get your pager and your shirt. So I was a bike messenger. And I was riding the streets downtown, delivering packages, contemplating the notion of living alone for the rest of my life, working at honorable professions, but far less than what I wanted. And I was in trouble. And then it happened. And understand that if I go sideways right now, it's not because of pain, it's because of joy. I had a delivery. I locked up my bike and went into the building downtown. I got an elevator. I pushed my button. I put my back to the wall of the elevator and I started digging through my bag to pull out the envelope of my receipt book to make the delivery. And a hand came through the doors of the elevator, and a woman got up. She hit her button and she turned to the side. And she she started staring at me. I wasn't looking at her. Mammals can feel when they're being stared at. I sure as hell can. You've been staring at me for 10 minutes now. So she's standing there and she's staring at me, and I'm digging in my bag and I'm wondering, what's this one going to say? What's it going to be? Because you know she's going to say something, right? So I looked up at her and I made eye contact, and she was smiling. And she said 7 words. I bet you lead an interesting life. There, I got it out. I bet you lead an interesting life. And I nodded, didn't say a word. The door opened and she was gone. And I went up and I made my delivery. I got back on that elevator. I'm thinking, interesting, what the hell is she talking about? And I went down to the first floor to get off the elevator. And it hit me. And it hit me. And I totally lost it. Went outside, sat down on the curb, and cried for 20 minutes. Thinking about the gift she had just given me. And here's what she taught me. If your circumstances won't change, you must. I wasn't growing new arms. And I wasn't ever going to make you guys stop doing that. I'm 7 billion of them, right? My circumstances weren't going to change. I had to. The second thing she taught me was my life didn't suck. I sucked at life. And why did I suck at life? Because I threw away and was wasting the most amazing tool, resource, strategy we all have. The very few of us use it. And here's what it is. Here's what she taught me. Reality is a construct. We create our own version of reality. No, I can't grow new arms. No, I can't physically manipulate my reality, but I am in 100% complete control of how I perceive reality. That's why 10 people can watch the same film and come out with 10 explanations. That's why one person can get cancer and say it was the most horrible experience of their life, but another can call it a blessing. We define our circumstances. Every single one of you has that power. Whatever you face in your life, you can define it as negative or you can define it as positive. It's entirely up to you. And I sucked at life because up to that point, I didn't realize that. And I defined my circumstances as intensely painful. So painful, I wanted to die. And in a 15-second elevator ride, I redefined all those circumstances as interesting. And by the time I reached the curb, the pain was gone. And it never came back. It's called cognitive reframing. Some of you might think it's defensive, reactive distortion of reality. It's not. It's psychotherapy without the couch. Okay? That's what psychotherapy is. You take a painful situation, cognitive behavioral modification. Cognitive behavioral therapy is sitting somebody down saying, tell me about the time you got punched in the face. Oh, it was terrible. Give it a different meaning. Okay, it was all right. You're cured. Okay, I do it real time. That's what she taught me on the elevator. I do it real time, and everything changed. And that's the first gift I'm here to deliver to you today. Start running your brains. It doesn't matter what you face. Define it in a way that serves you. I'll tell you what happened. For 10 years, I defined it as interesting. And then one day, I was congratulating myself for doing something that, I'm pretty good at this, right? I'm thinking, that was kind of fun. And then it hit me. If I could define it as interesting, why not define it as fun? So I did. Been having fun ever since, man. Screaming at people in McDonald's. You can't make that up. Right. So the second tool I want to deliver to you, another strange woman. This one said not a word to me. I'm a bike messenger still. I stopped at a 7-Eleven to have a soda to cool down before I rode home. And I'm sitting on the curb at 7-Eleven. And this woman pulls in an aircraft carrier-sized freaking Buick. Okay, just a huge car. She parks it right there. I'm facing out here in the store, friends behind me. She gets out of her car, she walks across the front of me, goes in to the store, and I'm sitting there with my cup full of ice, listening to my tunes, and she comes out, and I'm looking down, and I see these feet stop in front of me. So I look up, and she reaches down. She drops her change in my cup. Useless. She's doing what she was trained to do. Okay? So I jumped up and said, "Hey, I got a job. Here's your damn money." She offered to buy me another soda. I said, "No, that's all right. That's all right." I got on my bike to ride home. And once again, I freaking lost it, but not for the reason you think I would lose it. I rode home and thinking to myself, man, it's never going to stop. It's never going to stop. A complete stranger thinks I'm a bum just because of the way I look. It's been happening to me my whole life. I'm useless. It's never going to stop. It's never going to stop. And that's the beauty of it. Because if it's never going to stop, why fight the freaking battle? That's why I was crying. Because I realized that this burden of giving a damn what you people think of me was gone. You want to talk about freedom. Y'all need to get there. Okay? Get to the point. Get to that place where you just don't care what other people think of you. We all have the capacity. It's a simple decision. Okay, so you take those two tools of redefining your circumstances. I redefined them as interesting, which completely eliminated the emotion from the process. And then you add that to the tool, the second tool of not giving a damn what other people think of you, and you have freaking Superman. Okay? And I became Superman. Complete instant confidence injection because I knew you couldn't hurt me anymore. So here's what happened. I go to law school, I'm looking for a job, 4 interviews, nothing. And then I got a sixth sense, they're uncomfortable with my arms. So I go to this one interview, for example, and I walk in, and there's a table and a chair, and here's the chair for me, small cubicle-style office. And I walk in, "Hey, how are you? I'm Kip." And I stick my hand out to shake it. The guy stands up, and he turns his back to me. And he grabs his briefcase off the credenza. He puts it on the table, he scoops his papers, throws them in the briefcase. I'm sorry, I'm late for my plane, I gotta go. Slams his briefcase, walks by me, never looks up, no eye contact. Never shook my hand. And as he passed me in the door, he said, "You're not what I was expecting." Okay, so all that 7 years of schooling, honor roll, all that out the window because this jackass won't give me a shot because I look weird. But in that moment, I went back to my lessons, right? I made it interesting and I studied it. And I realized I was going to be a lawyer no matter what, whether I got a job. So it really doesn't matter what these people say. So I changed my strategy. I went into the next interview, and they're uncomfortable. They're all freaked out. It's 2 of them this time. Oh, all right, okay, what do you think of this? You don't want to talk about that. You want to talk about things. They couldn't ask because the Americans with Disabilities Act says they can't ask. So I said, hey, listen, here's the deal. I got jacked up arms. I was born this way, but I type like a demon. I got a great work ethic. I can handle the phone. I can sell anything. I just need a shot, man. Give me a shot. Oh, I will make it the personal mission of my life to make you regret that you didn't. I got the job. And I got the next job. And the next job. And the next job. And then in dating, anybody hear of the 3-foot rule? It's a sales technique where the salesman has a rule, all right? Anybody who comes within 3 feet, he has to introduce himself. Tell them what they do and try to make the sale. I took that to dating. Okay? Except I modified it. I made it the 3,200-mile rule. Because you couldn't hurt me anymore. I didn't give a damn about rejection. Next. I asked my wife out 450 times. How many times I asked her? Every day for a year before she said yes, I didn't care. You can't hurt me anymore.